If you're learning Welsh, you probably know that Welsh words have grammatical gender. So you might be thinking, wait, does that mean I have to know if a chair is a boy or a girl? No, not really. In this video, I'll be talking about what grammatical gender really is, and hopefully it will make something click in your mind and make it easier for you to learn. Felly, croeso! Shwmae pawb, chodolfo dwi. A dyma hir-iaith, sianel I helpu chi I ddysgu Cymraeg yn well. In this video, I'll be talking about what grammatical gender really is. And I'm going to show you how it works in practice, and I'm going to give you some hints of how to learn and memorize the grammatical gender of nouns in Welsh. Stay tuned to the bonus round with some extra info about grammatical gender, how it works in different European languages, and some historical background about gender in general and Welsh specifically. If you're learning Welsh, you're most likely a native speaker of English. As you will see, English is one of the few European languages that does not have grammatical genders. So it's perfectly natural if English speakers have difficulty in learning genders. But what I want to help you in this video is not the specific grammatical rules regarding gender. I want to help you understand the point of gender, how it works, and maybe help you to get your head around the concept, in which you make it easier for you to learn the rules. For example, a comment that I have heard from English speakers is,
"Isn't it funny
that the word for beard is feminine in some languages when it's men who have beards?" And the answer is no, it's not funny at all. For a speaker of a language that has gender, that question is puzzling. We don't think in those terms, and this is related to the real meaning of grammatical gender. In a language that has genders, gender is an inherent feature of nouns. Let's say that again. Gender is an inherent feature of nouns. The important parts here are inherent and nouns. It is the words that have gender, not the things in the world. Gender is an inseparable feature of words themselves, and I'll prove this to you later with an example in Welsh. Okay, so now we know that a word may have a masculine or a feminine gender, for example, but what does it mean in practice? What does it mean to say that a word has gender? The gender of a word will be reflected in the shape of that specific word and or in the behavior of the words associated to it. Let's take a look at some examples of gender in sentences, starting with English that has no grammatical genders, and then we will translate them. Let's imagine you bought some furniture online, specifically a black sofa and a black chair, and now they've arrived. So you could say, the black sofa has arrived, and the black chair has arrived. You can see that swapping sofa with chair makes no difference to the other words, because all the words that we use for sofa are perfectly appropriate to be used with chair. But let's say this in a different language. Most English speakers encounter gender the first time when they study Romance languages, which are the languages that evolved from spoken Latin, for example, French and Spanish and Portuguese. Let's see these sentences in my first language, Portuguese, and then we'll apply these conclusions to Welsh. In Portuguese, the noun sofa is masculine and the noun chair is feminine. O sofá preto chegou. A cadeira preta chegou. As you can see, some of the words have had to change in order to agree with the grammatical gender of the noun that they are associated with. This is called agreement. Sometimes different words that have the same meaning will have the same gender, sometimes even across languages. So these two sentences in French, they show the same pattern, with the difference that even more words have to change in order to agree in gender. Sometimes even in the same language, the same object can be referred to using different words, and these words may have different genders. And that's completely fine. It doesn't create confusion for the speaker, because the speaker knows that gender is a part of words, not of the objects. Let's take a look at an example in Welsh, again starting from English. Let's say you want to sit in a cinema or in the theater and you ask someone if the seat next to them is free. You realize that you can call the seat by different names, for example, seat or chair or place and so on. So you could ask that person, is this seat free? Or is this chair free? Again, we see that nothing besides the noun changes. And if the seat is not free, both questions could be answered with, no, I'm saving it. We refer either to seat or chair as it, because the object doesn't have any real-world gender, and because these words don't have gender either. But it would work differently in Welsh. In Welsh, you could refer to this seat either as lle, meaning place, or cadair, meaning chair. So you could ask, ydy'r lle hwn yn wag? Or, ydy'r gadair hon yn wag? We can see that the word meaning this has had to agree in gender with the noun, but the answer to each question would also be different. If you asked about a place, the person would say nakadi, dwi'n cadw fe. But if you were asking about a chair, the person would say nakadi, dwi'n cadw hi. So Welsh uses different pronouns for the same object, depending if that object is being referred to with a masculine noun or a feminine noun in that context. In practice, the answer would be either no, I'm saving him, or no, I'm saving her. In gendered languages like Welsh, the words he and she don't sound like they're always referring to people, like in English. That means that it's somewhat incorrect to say that fe means he and he means she. These are pronouns, which means that they replace and are used instead of nouns. So it's more accurate to say that fe is a third-person singular pronoun that replaces masculine nouns, and he replaces feminine nouns. So what's the best way to remember the gender of Welsh words? There are different ways, but definitely the worst way would be to try to memorize facts such as cadair is feminine. This is not how native speakers know the gender of words. If you ask a native speaker about the gender of a word, they would try it out in patterns. So a French speaker, for example, would try combining that noun with le or la and checking which one sounds better. But remember when I said that articles have to agree in gender with the nouns they are associated with? If this hypothetical French person is testing the gender of a noun, how will they know which articles to choose? So this is cyclical. Native speakers know which articles to use because they know the gender of nouns. And they know the gender of nouns because they know which words they usually go with. And that's why you should learn Welsh words in patterns, especially nouns. If you've studied French before, you know that this is done by using the article le or la together with the noun. And you see this in vocabulary lists, in textbooks, and places like that. But how can we do it in Welsh? First of all, if you don't know the gender of a Welsh word, you should check it at a dictionary. For example, the Geiriadur yr Academy, which is an online English-Welsh dictionary. You will see either F for feminine or M for masculine after each translation of an English word. Now, my suggestions for how to memorize the gender of Welsh words are related to the specific grammatical contexts in Welsh where grammatical gender is important. If you need to refresh your memory about soft mutations after feminine nouns and things like that, check out this companion video with an overview of the grammatical rules regarding gender in Welsh. So when it comes to writing a Welsh vocabulary list, we cannot use the word the as in French because the word in Welsh doesn't change according to gender and it's always the same. You could do this anyway and rely on the soft mutation that occurs with feminine nouns. So you could write a bwrdd and a gadair and try to remember that gadair is a mutated form of cadair and that therefore cadair is a feminine noun. However, I don't think this will work very well because you might forget that gadair is a mutated form of a different word. For example, if you write a gair in your vocabulary list, you may forget if this is a mutation of a word cair, which doesn't exist by the way, or if this is the masculine word gair. Finally, not all feminine nouns will undergo soft mutation because not all sounds mutate. So if checking your vocabulary list you see the word a shop, there's no way of knowing if this is feminine or masculine just by mutation. Native speakers will often try to combine the noun with the Welsh word for this. So they will say a gair hwn and a shop hon and check if they sound right. So you could record your nouns like this. A different strategy is memorizing every noun that you learn combined with a random adjective such as good or big. Feminine singular nouns will trigger soft mutation of the adjective, so you can identify feminine nouns like this. For example, bwrdd da, cadair dda, gair da, shop dda. You can use the same logic with any chunks of language that you learn. Even expressions that you encounter in real life can be useful. Stryd fawr, Castell Coch, Parc Cenedlaethol, These expressions can teach you the gender of nouns if you pay attention to the mutation patterns. These are the strategies that I came up with to learn and memorize the gender of Welsh words. So which strategies do you use? Please share your strategies in the comments below. A paid yn hofio tynysgrifio.